Is this the close? Is this the open? Is this the lead gen? Is this the follow-up? Is this the decision maker? Who's my communication partner in this communication event? Has that changed from the last time I had this conversation? Be very clear on step 2, objective. What do I want right now from whom? My objective, my communication partner. And then step 3, what does your communication partner need to get out of this in order to feel like this was a raging success for them? Some of you have paid many hundreds of dollars that you have. Some of you have paid many hundreds of dollars that you really didn't have and you showed up anyway. Either way, I want to treat every single one of you as though this was an important decision for you, whether it was your money or your time or something else for you that you have given up to be here. It's important to me to honor that you showed up, so I show up for you too. And I show up to give you the value. If you're on a sales call, that person can hang up the phone anytime. They don't have to be there. There is a reason why they're on the phone. So you already start with a yes in sales, which I think is very relaxing to think about. Because the fact that they are in a communication event with you is already an, at least, I'm listening. I'm here because maybe you can provide some kind of value for me in this moment. You have to find out what that value is for them so that you can show up and present it and give it to them. And it's going to be different for every person, so you have to be present, you have to be listening. And then you go into step 4, which is your toolbox. Everybody know about features versus benefits? Is there anybody who's not familiar about that? Okay, so what's your name? Maria? What are the things that are important to you to get out of today's event? Like, what did you come here and sit down and pay attention and like make eye contact with me for? Why did you do all of that?
Well, I was invited here, so I took up the invitation, and here I am. And
why did you say yes?
why not, right?
Okay, so spontaneity as a value that you want to. Who invited you?
My supervisor.
Okay. What's at stake if you say no to your supervisor?
Not a whole lot, I guess.
Okay. So you could have said no.
Yeah.
But you didn't. Even if it felt like a casual decision to you, you came here. What were your alternatives today?
Stay in and get more work done.
Cool. What was more valuable to you about this than that?
Well, work will always be there, whereas I'm not sure if I'll be able to hear a chance to hear you speak again. So.
Cool. Thank you for coming and taking that chance. I'm going to suggest that you came here to take that chance because you thought you might get some value out of it.
Yeah.
What might be of value to you from a personal brand conference?
Well, from hearing you speak today, kind of improving communication skills. I haven't taken any calls before, so kind of seeing the things that you learned and thought that kind of split in terms of how you can improve your communication skills.
Cool. And what would you stand to gain? Like if you left this room with superpower communication skills, what happens for you next in your life? What do you stand to gain?
Well, I can help other people improve their communication skills, so that's fine.
And what do you do with your own new communication skills? What are the yeses that maybe would mean something to you to get?
I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, so let's do an example. Who are the people you communicate with every day?
My mom.
Okay. Communicate with your mom. Is it ever challenging to communicate with her?
Sometimes it can be difficult to get her attention.
Okay, so if I can give you a way to get your mom's attention, would that make today's entire day worth it for you?
Sure.
Okay, you're being very kind. And we'll use this as an example. Okay, so let's say that if I know now, because I've asked a lot of questions, to get to what your objective was in coming here today, even if it's an example, it's the one that came up, this is the one that we'll address. So the features of today's entire day are many. The ones that I can control are related to communication and intention and the method that I have. So we already know, I'm sure you know what your super objective is, the things that are really important to you, the things that keep you accountable to communicating a certain way and being effective and being respectful, as opposed to like flying off the handle or losing your temper if she's being extremely difficult, which you know, moms can be sometimes, especially with daughters. And you want to bring your part to that with everything you have. So you have your super objective for why it is that it's important to you to connect with your mother. You have your objective, which is to connect with her in whatever your next communication event is. And then you have to figure out what's her objective, like what would she get out of giving you the attention and being in connection with you? What makes her feel grateful for having had that opportunity? And those things are your benefits, not just your features. The things that I can help you with, specifically you, are my benefits, not my features. I can talk about how to be successful in a sales call all day long. I can talk about real estate investors. I can talk about international diplomacy. I have a client in Saudi Arabia who I'm helping to establish the first ever United Nations Association of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. No big deal. But like, there are all different kinds of things I can talk about. You will get value if you understand how to improve your relationships with what I give you today. So maybe that's the same for everybody, maybe it's not. But as a specific example, all of you will be able to learn the technique. And that's good enough for me. So if I just help Maria with this right now, I'm giving you my benefits, not like all my features, all the real estate and international diplomacy and selling granola to Disney and like the things that I help people with all the time. I'm talking to you, you're my communication partner. Your objective is to communicate well with your mother and connect. My objective is to get a recommendation on LinkedIn. So if I help you with your objective, I will probably get mine. So the things that are in my toolbox, that fourth step, calling out my features, the things that are the right tool to fix the right problem that you have, those are my benefits and not my features. So when you talk to your mother, what are things that engage her, that you know always work? What does she always want to talk about? What is she always happy to talk about?
Well, I guess the highlights of my day, those are usually.
To get her attention, like the highlights of your day. So what are some highlights of your day today that you will share with her tonight in your phone call?
Well, I'll tell her that I went to a conference and I was working, it helped me improve my communication skills, so that's fun.
And why is it important to her that you work on your communication skills?
Well, I guess like any mother, I'm sure mothers are always happy to hear that their children are working on developing skills. Yeah.
Can you give me a sentence as though I'm your mother? I have done this, and I thought you would like to hear about this because?
I have gone to a conference and I have done this because I thought that you would like to hear about how I'm working on improving the skill.
Cool. Yeah. And what do you think she'll feel as a result of knowing that it was so important to you to make her proud that you're working on skills that she values and that you wanted to share that with her? What will be the result?
I'll probably feel happy.
Cool. And that probably connects you. The fifth step, after those like things that you call out to be of value to that other person, is communicative action, and that's where verb your values comes in. Communicative action is that set of verbs. What I'm going to do to this person with my communication. What I'm going to do to this person with my communication. I know that I'm taking you a little bit out of your comfort zone here. I get that, and I really appreciate that you're willing to do this with me, because I think it'll be valuable for you, but also it's valuable for everyone to see that there are ways of bringing everybody through what you want from them. And there's going to be a different approach that I have with you, Maria, from this distance, as opposed to putting you right on the spot, like right up close and personal. Whereas with Neelam, I felt like, oh, she's like me. We could just do this, you know? And I'm communicating differently with you because I know that there's a safe distance for you. I get that, from which you're willing to participate. And I'm listening to things like body language, listening to things like how loud your voice is or isn't, listening to hesitation, listening to your pace pick up as you get more and more involved and more comfortable. As your comfort zone stretches and grows, I'm feeling that too, and that's exciting for me to watch with you. And I'm grateful for our deepening connection as a result of this happening. So thank you for playing, in your way with me too, and showing up and doing that. When you apply communicative action in your phone call with your mother, is it a phone call or do you live with her? Phone call. So you're in your phone call, that's the communication event. You have stuff to talk about. That is your value, that's your benefits that you're going to share with her. If it's important to you to connect with your mother and things that are stuff she'd be proud to hear, stuff that she would be impressed to hear, things that will connect you to her, and whatever vibe you have. Thank you, Ten. That vibe that you have that connects you. If you set out to do those things, you will be successful in your communication event. You'll get off the phone feeling, I have really connected with my mother in this phone call. This was a success. I remember Lila said that thing. I'm going to find her on LinkedIn. I'm going to go write this right now. So you can say your values might be to connect. That's a word that you used. To get her attention, to captivate. If you want to get someone's attention, the verb for that is to captivate. To captivate, to connect, and I think I hear to honor my mother's passing her values to me of self-improvement, of development. So, and maybe to thank you for giving me the values for self-development and improvement so that I was driven to go to this event today. Everybody likes to feel affirmed and thanked and appreciated for the value that they've given you in your relationship. I would try some of those things. You don't have to remember the words, but remember the verbs. Remember what you want to do to her with your communication. You want to connect, you want to thank, you want to honor. And if you just stick with those things and talk about the things that are in your benefits rather than your features, I think you'll have a very successful conversation with her. So that's an example. In business, when we have company values, there are many touch points between you and your end user, even if you're in business for yourself. And Yash, you are, right? In business for yourself? Who are the end users of your communication?
End users of my communication?
Yeah, who hears you? Who sees you? Who witnesses you? Who
anyone,
experiences you?
Anyone who's interested in LinkedIn marketing.
Okay.
So anyone who needs to use that particular brand skill, they will probably be the ones who will be more interested than others.
Okay, so those people, where are they?
On social, online.
Where?
So,
Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Are they on?
no, on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
But I also cross-pollinate, so I try to find people on other platforms too who share a common interest in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them are on LinkedIn.
Okay, so let's say it's the people on LinkedIn. What are the values that you want to make sure that they know it means to work with you? Because there are a lot of LinkedIn marketers. There are probably at least 6 in this room. So why you? What does it mean to work with you? What do you value that they're going to experience as a result of working with you?
I guess openness. I guess I try and be more like honest than the rest. I mean, I try to be more, not honest, more straightforward. I try to, well, I mean, it's a little opposite of, like, instead of communicating better in a way that makes them feel more secure, like what you do, I try and communicate both the advantages and the disadvantages, something that people would like to see or not like to see, and just be straightforward.
So there are going to be people who really connect with that. That's going to be a different person than the people who really connect to my nurturing,
Yes.
right? So the people who get the sense of connection with me or affirmation with me are going to get something different with you.
Exactly.
They're going to get, if we put these into verbs,
Yeah.
to instruct,
Yeah.
to inform, maybe to agitate,
Yes.
to challenge. So that's you.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to be my personal brand to be effective and to attract your customers. You go ahead and use those verbs in your communication and see who you attract as a result. Yes?
No, that was my waving.
Oh, okay. Is that 5 or?
10.
Okay, I had a sign before, now I don't know what it said. But
It's okay,
Is that
you're good.
You
What
got
he
it.
just said is right online.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, 10. So thank you, 10 is something, just because I've now said it twice, I'll explain it's from theater. When the stage manager says, you have 10 minutes to come back from break, or we're back from break at 10, you say, thank you, 10, to say, thank you for giving us the break, thank you for doing your job, thank you, I've heard you, and I'm repeating it for people who might not have heard you. 10 minutes. So we're all in that together. And I just love that little thing in theater, and I do it all the time still. So somebody knows, like, not only have I heard them, but I've heard specifically what they've said, and it's important enough to me to share with other people. When I'm commenting on things on LinkedIn, and I'll just share that I'm not a frequent poster. I'm on LinkedIn every single day since June 1st, 2017, when I took up a challenge to do something different every day. The same thing, but different, than what I had been doing before. And to do it consistently for 30 days, I gave myself homework. I have to go on LinkedIn for 15 minutes a day before I'm allowed to open Facebook, which now I wouldn't even touch. Like, there's nothing for me over there. And everything's there for me on LinkedIn, and it has literally changed my life and has given me my community and the people who are attracted to my values and how I express them every single day, how I show up. And the people who are attracted to that are the people who feel the effects of my personal brand as opposed to yours, and the people who feel and are attracted to your personal brand are your people. And we still have a lot of crossover. We have like 700 mutual connections. So there are things that we have in common that like 700 people are saying like,
have the same values.
yeah, exactly. So that's who you want to attract, the people that share your values or want them in their life in some way, that they think that that will improve their situation. So verbing your values is something also, there's just to touch on it before we go into like final questions. What's easy about having these verbs is that you can tell anybody. So let's say you have a team of 25 people who are doing your LinkedIn marketing for you, writing your content for you, bidding on AdWords for you to say like, here's what you'll get if you work with Yash. Whoever it is, your graphic designers, your website designer, your email creators, anybody who works for you. If they know, with our communication, we will do this to our end user, it's so much easier for them to stay on your voice and on your brand than if you use like a 50-page brand document. It's just so much easier to like, if I want to do this to someone, here, do this with an image. Do this to them. Do this to them. And then you can refine from there. But it's so much easier for onboarding. It's so much easier for consistency. Not everybody in an organization will know things like distancing language, but if you say that I want my language to connect, then that's probably what you'll get, is their version of that. And you can refine from there. But when you're clear about what value you're asking for, you're much more likely to get a successful result really fast. So within an organization, it's a very useful tool. If it's yourself, it's how you show up. By being intentional with those verbs all the time, you're going to give people a consistent experience of you. I don't post content all the time. So people's experience of me happens all the time in the comments on other people's posts. There are people who have seen me comment on Carrie's posts for a year, like whatever I've seen. And those people who were Carrie's followers now know me because of how I showed up with my values in those comments. We have just a few minutes before we have to take a short break. What questions are there right now? Okay.
My question is about, so one, by the way, I really just want to say, this is like, you've kind of rewired, because one of the questions that I've always been asking myself is how do I have deeper connection, that's something I value, and then how do I keep that relationship over a period of time? I feel like you've answered some of those questions, those questions for me in certain ways. But the one I wanted to ask was, so a lot of what we're discussing implies that we have the ability to either see the person's body language or hear the person's voice. But when we're on LinkedIn, we're watching a video or we're reading words, right? We may not have the ability to see the person's body language, and even if it's a video, the body language is kind of rehearsed if you will, right? And so my question then becomes, how are we able to, one, be the art director of the room and not control, but be able to express ourselves so that people understand the messages that we're trying to give? And then as well, how can then we have those fruitful connections that mean something when we don't have?
Yeah, that's a
everything we
great
have?
question, and it's very easy. One, you can just repeat back, hey, I'm noticing this about your communication, is that what you intended? Get some
Yeah,
clarification,
yeah,
get
so
to know them
simple.
better, just ask, right? Like, just ask.
Yeah.
Am I right, am I on target here? Because it's important to me to understand you. It's important to me to have a real connection with you.
Yeah.
Am I getting this right? Just ask. The second way is to create an avatar for your ideal communication partner. The person who's going to connect with you so easily when you talk just like yourself. You say, who's that person? Who is it in my life right now that connects with me so easily? What's their attitude like? What's their tone of voice? What do they get about how I talk that makes it so comfortable, that makes them trust me? You talk to that person. And then the people who are around, who are watching your comments, they will find you. They'll be like, oh, I know how to joke with that guy. I know how to vibe with that. I respect that. And you'll attract them. It's just inbound, being yourself, having your personal brand, rather than trying to show up in a way that is going to connect with everybody.
Yeah.
You show up as yourself. And the people that you want to attract may or may not be the person in the video. It might be the people in the comments section. I met my roommate in Dallas, Stephanie Bako, in the comments section of somebody else's post on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, most of the people that I know I've met in the comments section of somebody else's post on LinkedIn. So that's a great question. Does that help?
No, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
To follow up, it's discover, right? How do we go about choosing our verbs?
You think about what's really important to you and just try to translate it. What's important? What is important to you?
Well, youth and empowerment. That's why I have a youth
Youth?
empowerment podcast.
Okay.
Youth. Yeah.
So maybe rejuvenate. The root of that word juven is youth. Maybe what you want to do with your communication is to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
So try it. See who connects with that. See who's empowered by that. If you only use one. And then if it doesn't work or you're attracting the wrong kind of person, try something else. Another thing that you can do to discover what your voice is and where you feel the most comfortable being active is just to give yourself permission to try stuff out and to listen. Like, listen here. This feels good. This doesn't feel so good. I feel most myself when I am like this. I feel least like myself when I'm like this. And then only do these things and cut out the rest of it. Just listen to what feels good, what doesn't feel good, anytime. Whether you're listening to somebody who's not engaging you, then don't engage. Let it be on them to re-engage you. If it's like some kind of online troll who's being negative, it doesn't feel good, forget it. If somebody is selling to you in a way that you don't like to be sold to, there are two approaches. One, you can cut them out and forget them, or if you're a sales trainer, this is a great opportunity to sell them your services and be like, well, here's what I'm getting from your communication. Is that what you intended? You know, so asking that kind of question is something that's converted sales for me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have? I think we have time for 2 more questions. Yes, Jacob from Poland, by way of Canada.
Yeah. I work with software developers who, by nature, are quite often introverts. It might be a very broad question, but how do you make introverts open up?
Do you
We-
need them to?
Yes,
Okay, why?
because quite often when they're hidden with their needs, emotions, and whatever they want to get from your organization, if those are hidden, they quit. And I'd like to prevent that.
So you want to retain
I want to retain,
people?
but at the same time, they're not really freely opening up.
I bet they are, and you're not hearing it.
You think so? Yeah?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
if you really listen,
Yeah.
people will tell you what they value about being with you. If you ask them,
Mhm.
what do you value about your job, they'll tell you. If you ask them, do you prefer doing this work or this work, they'll tell you. If you can find opportunities for someone to help, they're much more likely to respond more actively. When you see somebody activate, that's when you lean into that. So just be listening for each individual person, because introverts are not sharing their personality with the
Yeah.
whole room, but they will share it with you or with their direct manager.
Yeah.
So listen to what's in your recap. You know, do you do like a weekly recap of things that you're proud of? What kind of successes have been meaningful to you this week?
Right.
Where do you feel your best work shown? Who did you help with your work this week? People always want to feel valuable. That is universal. Introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, noneverts. It's just universal. People always want to feel valuable. So if you ask them how they feel they helped somebody this week, what they feel most proud about their work, they'll tell you.
They
which you
do,
think was
they
your
do,
best work.
I
Yeah,
host those.
so listen
and-
to that,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
say, what does that tell me about what their work is, what they feel most connected to in this job?
Mhm.
And what projects do I have, or can I build, that build on those skills? How can my company grow? How can my department grow because I have these skills in it? Are there new projects that I hadn't even thought about before I considered that this is someone's actual interest? And then see if that opens doors for you. Maybe it's about you being open first. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other, I think of one more question.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You
I
can-
think I have a similar problem as Jacob, since we
Okay.
work in the same organization.
Okay.
Do we have a problem?
I had a good example this morning, since he was in the event today, I was stepping in for most of his meetings this morning.
Okay.
And there was this